Put your phone on silent. Hey, welcome to the Beekay. This is Platinum Realty Group. Yay! We are here to answer any and all questions you may have regarding real estate, how the market is today. And we have two guests that are joining us.
Yes, we do. We have Jeff from Nations Lending, and we have Heather Budge-Heaslet. Heaslet. Corrections. That's what's so good about real estate agents. We're never right. Okay. They're both here, and Heather is from State Farms. So we'll have them come up, and we're going to have some questions from our audience for all of us. So stick with us with the Q&A here at the Beekay with Platinum Real Estate Realty Group. See?
We always give you a good time. Every day. All right, Jeff, Heather, want to come up and join us?
I'm bringing Susan with you. I got Susan local.
Oh, bring Susan too.
All right, grab a chair for Susan.
Okay, we need a chair for Susan. Let's get that chair. Do we have one?
We do.
Okay. Oh, yay, Ruby Ghoulies. So we'll move this back just a tad bit so Susan doesn't feel like she's going to go off the edge. Although we do have a show here called Love, and someone does go to the bridge. There you go.
I am Christy Rabe, and this is Chris Morales. We failed to introduce ourselves.
I know, Q&A 101. Who are you?
So, do we have a phone line or something for people to call in on if they're watching us live?
We sure do. We are live on YouTube. They can just type in their questions. It's not a phone line. They can type in.
Oh, you can type in your questions. And that was the voice of Lisa McKenzie, Director of Operations for Platinum Realty Group. She is the one who put this all together for us.
So if you have a question, type it on in, and then we'll get that question, and then we'll answer it. It can be anything you want about real estate, about insurance, about getting a loan, anything you can think of, just ask us. My favorite color is yellow.
Yes, mine.
Okay, so we have an online question. What is the weather like today in Tehachapi?
I was driving here and it was 52 degrees. It is chilly. It is supposed to be today. However, tomorrow we are expecting rain and snow.
Oh, wow. Put boots in my car.
There you go.
Ready. You gotta be prepared, just like you know. Be prepared. Okay.
So, if you are in the market for a house and you call Chris or I and you say, I'd like to go see this home, one of the first questions we're going to ask you is, are you pre-qualified for a loan? And if you are not, you are putting the cart before the horse. And that is why we have Jeff here. So, Jeff, what would you like to tell us?
Definitely. I'm remembering the commercial we just shot. Two things you need to do. The reason why we want to be pre-approved and pre-qualified is, and there's a difference between the two. Let me just park on the differences. A pre-qualification is basically anybody running numbers. You could pre-qualify yourself if you could use a calculator. And if you know the math that you're going to be using, it's simply your income, mathematical formula, calculating a payment, and does that income support with the payment? And that's kind of a pre-qualification. A pre-approval, what we really like to see and do, includes running credit, looking at FICO scores, looking at pay stubs, looking at tax returns. There's a lot of things that sneak up on people when they don't realize that the overtime that they barely have gotten for 2 months can't be used to qualify, even though it feels good when they deposit. So we like to look at all of the documentation, run credit, look at FICO scores, and that's the pre-approval. Make sure, as the commercial says, that we're shopping for homes within our budget, and it lets the sellers know that we are a serious buyer. So yeah, we want to make sure that everybody is ready to go financially before you start.
There is nothing worse than finding a house you absolutely love, you can't live without, this is your dream home, and you don't qualify to buy it. Looks bad on me, and it's so devastating for a buyer. So Jeff is definitely one you want to call first.
And when you get pre-approved or pre-qualified, then that allows you to understand how much you can afford. Then that helps us help you kind of scale down the houses and what you're looking for. Everybody wants that $1 million home because it's so beautiful and fun. But a $300,000 home is $1 million home to you, right? But we want to keep you in those payments so that you can be happy in your home and not be house poor, as they say. So Jeff has got all those answers.
I've got a few. We've got questions.
Yeah, we do have a question online. What are rates at today?
Great question. And I'll be a little bit sarcastic, but then I'll answer the question. Asking what rates are like today is like asking what the weather is like in America.
Oh,
You're going
why?
to have Wyoming. You're going to have all these different pieces. And what's the average temperature? The rates are going to vary with a lot of type, conventional FHA, VA. They're all going to have a different interest rate. Your credit score is going to help determine the rate. The amount of down payment that you have is going to help determine the rate. There's a lot of factors that go into that rate. If I were to answer the question, if we looked at a range, we are back into, and people are still going to go, that's still yucky. We're in the low sixes. We might even touch a high five, depending on the down payment, high FICO score.
Oh, that's great.
When not too long ago, barely 90, 120 days, we were in the sevens.
That's right.
And everybody was really choking because they were remembering the threes. And they thought that was life. That was incredibly anomalous to what our markets typically are running. So a low six is fantastic.
It's really good.
That was my first home. We were a 6.125.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
So do we have any questions for, let's say, insurance? I don't know. I'll ask.
I do.
You do? Oh, okay, Tag, here you go.
There are so many challenges getting homeowners insurance right now in our zip code. Some pockets are easier than others. Do we see any changes coming?
So usually, I'm Susan, State Farm. I've been there for 8 years. So we've had, it's kind of gone up and down. Like a couple years ago, we couldn't write any wildfire restrictions, right? So now they're kind of opening that up a little bit. So I can still write a good portion of Bear Valley, Stallion, but there are still right, but we can figure that out in a matter of seconds, whether or not we can write it. But what they're allowing us to do now, that if you are in wildfire and you meet the criteria, that we can actually push it through and to see if we can get you on the book. So they are now kind of expanding that a little bit.
So when you say you can write it, is that a normal owner's policy or is that a fair plan?
So State Farm is exclusively State Farm. So
Okay.
anything that State Farm, that I'm gonna write is only gonna be State Farm. I don't write fair plan.
Okay.
I know that some companies do the fair plan along with like a comprehensive or the wraparound plan. Everything, we include fire, we include all of the comprehensive stuff, all built into one policy, so.
So I'm in Bear Valley.
Yes.
Knock on wood, I still have a normal policy. But all of the time I see people posting policies being canceled. If they were to call you, there is a chance if they're on the valley floor or the lower hills that they could get a normal policy with State Farm.
Absolutely, and like I said, it would take us a matter of seconds. We type the address in, it's like basically like a yes or no, and we know then. We don't have to wait. You know, some companies too, they say, okay, well, in 30 days we'll know for sure. The only thing that's going to restrict you now is your claim history. But if you're honest with us and you have had no claims in the last 3 years, I mean, there are other things though, like if you're really like in really poor condition and you have, let's say, cars all over the property, maybe State Farm will go out and say, you know what, maybe not.
You look at those Google photos,
Right. But I mean, we're not waiting to know if it's in a wildfire zone or not in 30 days. I can tell you immediately, and I can give you an answer that day and find it that day and submit for.
Okay, you brought up another point. Let's say a new homeowner gets the insurance and then you have to send out an investigator or somebody in the field to actually go look at the property. I've had clients call me and say they're canceling my insurance after, I don't believe it was State Farm, but after somebody went out, they actually declined the insurance 2 months into them owning a home. Does that happen?
And it shouldn't be 2 months, like in our case, because we do a random surveyor, but what we're looking for, like, if I mean, if your roof is 50 years old, you have a tarp and tires to hold the tarp down, things like that. But we do a pretty good job, and we can kind of look ourselves, kind of get a gauge of the house and say, you know, hey, why don't you repair your roof first before we try and get this on the book? So we're trying to do our best to avoid conversations like that. But technically, we do, State Farm does have surveyors to do that, but it should be within a couple weeks, we'd say, right? Usually.
Yeah, and they're random, they're not.
It's
not
not
everyone,
everyone,
right?
yeah.
So does it help your insurance if houses have the clay tile roofs or the cement tile roofs?
That can be a factor for
The
if you're in the
wildfire.
wildfire zone. It needs to be covered. It's extensive. It's quite
Special
expensive.
windows.
Okay.
The trees have to be so far.
So if someone wanted to get insurance, is there like a list that you guys can give to anybody that
I
says this
wish.
will be helpful?
So we used to have a map in back, and there's like an outline. Is anything on this side we're good? Anything on that side I can't write.
Okay.
But now it seems to be there's pockets of trees. It's not, yeah, because some people on the valley floor, like I had a lady and she's like, "Wow, right there," and I can't touch her, but I have people on Jacaranda and deer trees. So I don't know quite what the algorithm is. in
They
there,
flip
but
a
it's-
coin.
Do they?
It seems that way.
No fees.
Hi, you have a question?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, what's your
Is
question?
it okay?
Absolutely.
Okay,
What's
I wrote
your
a couple
first name?
things down.
What's your first name?
Paula.
Hi, Paula. Who's in the audience? What's your question?
Okay, the insurance that you talked about, is the insurance different on modulars than it is on a standard home?
In terms of underwriting or pricing, all of the above.
Yeah,
So,
and one more thing. I noticed that most insurances don't have earthquake. Does that cover earthquake with you, or is that extra?
So, insurance, earthquake, it's always gonna be a separate policy. We do also
Okay.
offer, you can get earthquake through California Authority, and then technically flood through FEMA, but, modular homes, we do like them. We do have some restrictions. Prices are generally cheaper.
Yeah.
We insure them slightly different, like, a homeowner's, a stick-built house, if you will, they're gonna be, we're going to insure them, rebuild costs, so not market value. It's gonna be how much does it cost to rebuild, right? Whereas a modular home is gonna be, fair market. So that means, let's say it's a 1989, 1200s, it's 1989, 1200 square foot home. And that's how we insure them. So they are insured a little differently, and the prices are a little cheaper, I would say, because of that. Yeah, and there's a cutoff year. I think it's it can't be older than 40 years, I think, right now. 40.
Okay.
So but Chuck, I can double check on that, but I think it's 40 years is the cutoff.
What about insuring the things on the inside? Do you have to have separate pictures for you?
No, ma'am, we don't require any pictures of your personal content.
Uh-huh.
And for manufactured home, modular homes, we just require like a number. So you would tell me like 50,000
Oh, okay.
personal content. Or,
Oh, okay.
you know.
But isn't it true, like a video or photos are great to have on hand if you do a disaster, and then you can pretty much get
Sure.
them
Yeah,
replaced?
that's helpful. I hear we haven't had, luckily, we haven't had, too many just catastrophic claims. I mean, we dealt with a couple Paradise victims and whatnot. But State Farm's really good about, if you say, okay, they're going to ask for a schedule, so they're going to ask you to list individually what you have, which is kind of a pain, but that certainly does help.
I need the photos because I'm going to forget everything I have.
That was your dog. That's what that was.
Any other questions? Yes,
I'm
your
Pat.
name.
Pat,
Hi,
Hi,
Pat.
hi. Is it true that mold isn't covered by insurance?
So that's a common misconception for mold. The deal with mold is 9 times out of 10, the reason why you have mold is it's because it's been over time. So that's the problem that insurance companies have with mold, is that if it's something that's been happening over time, generally is not going to be covered. But there are certain circumstances that can create mold. So like within 7, so let's say it's hot and it's 90 degrees outside, humid where there's mold. So it's not that if you see mold where it's denied. It depends on the circumstances. So sudden and accidental generally is something that's going to be covered, whereas maintenance and overtime generally, usually it's a telltale sign that has been going on for a long time. So we don't have an exclusion to answer your question, but it kind of depends on how long it's been going on.
It's a great question. A lot of people ask that question a lot when we do like home inspections and things. There's always maybe a little trace of something in there where it gets kind of panicked. That, oh my gosh, it's got mold, but it's not necessarily that bad, as long as it's taken care of early. It's not something like, she was just saying that it goes on and on forever. So great question.
Anybody else have a question before I continue on?
Oh, you go, correct.
No, well, I'm going to stick with this insurance thing because when you were talking about the mold and all, I was thinking of like a water leak, and my mind went back to where a home warranty specialist once said to me, it's important to have your home warranty so that what broke gets fixed, but it's important that you have your homeowner's insurance to repair the damage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much, they're two different things and each covers their own thing. So if you have a pipe break, you have to get a plumber out there to fix the pipe, or if you have a home, whereas the homeowner's insurance will cover created.
Well, that's great.
That's why we encourage home warranties.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes sellers just do not want to buy the home warranty for the buyer. They think, oh, it doesn't work. I've never used mine. Why should I have that? But honestly, it's reassurance.
And it protects them too from the buyer coming back
Absolutely.
and saying you didn't disclose this.
Absolutely. Paula has another question.
The home warranty, like I just moved into a place a year and a half ago, but in about 1 year, the big unit went out for the air and stuff. And is that covered under home insurance? Well, we got it covered under home warranty. Is that
Should
right?
be covered.
Okay.
Mine was covered under home warranty.
The home warranty,
Okay.
yes.
Right.
Okay.
And usually a seller will purchase the home warranty for 1 year.
Right, that's
Of course,
what
negotiable.
Right.
If a seller says no, a buyer can always get it themselves.
That's
There are
right.
also different
I was gonna ask.
levels of
Different
warranties.
companies,
Yeah.
different levels, yes. And, but after that 1 year, you're always given extend it and pay for it yourself.
That's good.
We've been in our house 22 years and I still have a home warranty.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I've had water heaters, garage door openers, a furnace replaced. I mean,
They come in handy. They
Yeah.
really do. You never know, but it's good to have it. There was another question back there, this gentleman right here. What's your name?
My name's Dave.
Hi, Dave.
hi Dave.
Is it a good time to sell?
Is it a good time to?
It is a great time to
Is
sell.
it a good time to buy?
Yes.
It's a good time to buy. It's a good time to buy because interest rates are still down.
Yes.
They haven't gone back up to 7. It's a great time to buy because we're coming up to the spring selling season. And so a lot of sellers did I say buy or sell? It's a great time to sell.
Yes.
Because we're coming up to the spring selling season and a lot of sellers are holding until March, April, which at that point you have much more competition. Right now, inventory is low. So buyers are out looking at everything that comes on the market.
And never stop yourself when you're thinking that maybe should I put my house on the market now, or maybe I should buy when it's warmer and not so cold outside. If you're really not sure about any of that, call us. Call Christy, call Chris. We'll tell you, yes, put your house on the market right now because inventory is low. Or yes, let's get out there, whether it's windy or rainy, we're gonna get out there because every house might be your house. You just never know, but you will not know unless you get outside that door. So go look. We know what the inventory is in Tehachapi. We can guide you through that, whatever you're looking for. But you've got to start now to get that house so that other people don't buy it before you do.
Are you referring to Tehachapi for sales? Or are you referring all around that sales are?
Nationwide,
Yeah.
it has really come back to a very even market. A buyer advantage, they ask for the closing costs, they ask for all the repairs, they get everything they want from a seller. A seller's market is when buyers end up paying more for a property, they release contingencies, it's harder to find a home. Today, I would say it is just a very slight seller's market, and the only reason is because our inventory is so low and there are so few homes available. But that will change with the spring selling season.
Well, yeah, especially with, just hearing what Jeff said about the interest rates are going down and maybe we might be into the high fives. When that happens, my goodness gracious, people come out of the woodwork. So, you want to start talking to your lenders, you want to start finding about insurance, you want to talk to your real estate agents, and really start getting out there looking for your next house.
We actually
Jeff
have
wanted to interject for a second.
we have another question for Jeff. What about, is 20% down still a thing? How much money do I need to save to buy a house with the current interest rates?
Yeah, excellent question. And let me answer that, and then I'll tag on to what we were just talking about. So down payment, it is another common misconception about a down payment. 20% is fantastic, but it is not required. 20% is the threshold if you're doing a conventional loan to avoid mortgage insurance. If you have 20% down, you won't have mortgage insurance. But on a conventional loan, your minimum down payment can be as little as 3%. If you're a first-time home buyer and you meet the other qualifications. 0.5%. VA, you can get in with no down payment. USDA, no down payment. So the 20% really marker is a memory of the back in grandparents' days when they used to have to have that much. But it's only if you truly want to avoid mortgage insurance for conventional.
Great.
Okay.
All right, I got a thumbs up.
Excellent. So let me, if I can kind of go back in time, a minute and a half. We were talking about the time to buy, time to sell. We have an interesting tool that I get to use with buyers, and even with sellers. It takes a lot of data that's publicly available, runs some algorithms, called cost of waiting. So it takes the average appreciation for a market. We can take an address, a zip code, however big or small we want to get with the market. It takes average appreciation, average home prices, average income, and all these other data points. And it can give you a 1 year, 2 year, 5, 10 years, the cost of waiting. We were looking at one yesterday for a consumer that was thinking about, is it a good time to buy or should I wait till the rates go down? Fantastic question. So we looked at what rates are today, what rates could be, and we can do different modeling. What if the rate, what does that cost you over time? What if the property values go up? What does that cost you over time? And really there's like 4 or 5 year break-even, almost $100,000 cost of waiting if they wanted to wait 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
And it really kind of got them off the fence of, no, we'll be fine. Well, oh, never mind, let's go.
Yeah.
So we can run curious, we just want to kind of play with it.
Yeah.
We can run all the scenario and see what that looks like.
That's awesome.
That's
Awesome.
great information. I mean, that's really.
I love technology.
I can't use my phone, but boy, do I like that.
We'll just have Jeff do it for us.
Yeah, I'll come and see you. Oh, we have another Paula here just full of questions today. That's fantastic. What do you got, Paula?
I have a couple. One is, how does your credit score reflect? Is there like a baseline or something? How does your credit score reflect to buy a house?
Yeah, and then again, that's very situational. It's not like a one and done. And you'll find in lending, and this is what we try to caution people, or at least keep people aware of, there is not a lot of black and white. We operate in shades of gray, and not in that 50 shades of gray. A lot of gray areas. But the reason being is because everything's situational. We don't want to say yes too fast and put people at risk. So when it comes to FICO scores, again, we go down to what product are we looking at. So FHA, we can go down to like 500, 520. VA doesn't really have 620 or above. It's very situational. Once you get past that threshold, or the level of entry based on your FICO score, then the stronger it gets, the higher it gets, you start to see things like lower cost mortgage insurance on conventional loans. You begin to see less cost or a little bit better interest rate. Those are impacted heavily by FICO scores, which is often why I get well, my neighbor just said they got 5 and you're offering me 5.5. I can't, because of privacy issues, tell them their score was 780 and yours is 620. But that's what changes it. So you can't say, well, my neighbor got, you feel like that's what you should get, because everything is a little bit different. So yeah, situational, cost of entry, and we look at the scores.
Jeff, we have someone online asking about Credit Karma. Is that a good determination?
It's directionally appropriate, but it is not the exact score that are run when we run a credit report. The reason being is that the different bureaus have different models that they use for running credit. So a consumer credit, if you're applying for a credit card, a car loan, something like that, they weight historical, lates, collection, mortgage would. We're taking a little bit more risk. The numbers have a little bit more zeros at the end of it. So we look at things differently. So a Credit Karma score, when you see it fluctuate up and down, directionally, we'll see that the mortgage pool go up and down. But you figure it's sometimes to 40 points different. I've had people come in and say, I've got a 780 on Credit Karma. I pull it, it's 740. It's still a great score, but it's going to have a little bit of a difference then.
So this is why every account we have, whether it be account, they all offer you your credit score now, and they're all different.
That's right. Exactly right.
I mean, within a few points, but I mean, they're all different.
Yeah, and you'll even see the differences between the 3 different bureaus, between Equifax, TransUnion. They're all going to have a different model that they use to determine the score. That's why in lending we use the middle one. We throw out the high, we throw out the low, and we give you that middle score to give you that benefit.
So I
I want the
have,
high one.
so I always have clients ask questions like this. And while a buyer is going through the process of buying a home, they will say, I want to buy a new refrigerator, I want to buy a washer and dryer, just to have all that, so when I move in, it's there.
A new car.
A new car! Jeff, with that said, while they're in the process of getting their loan, because escrow hasn't closed yet, if they were to buy a washer or a new car, is that going to impact their loan as you go through?
Absolutely will impact the loan as we go through it. What we try to counsel people on is when you are, even before you get into contract, if you have begun, or we've gone through that pre-approval process, my coach to your credit profile. No, do not increase the average use of your credit, because people panic and go, wait, you mean I can't eat out anymore? Just live normally, but don't be anything excessive. And I've seen it from people call me, I'm at the store, it's about $200 on groceries. Jeff, is that okay? Yes, continue checking out.
Seriously?
The other end of the spectrum, to Chris's joke, but it has happened, and this is the sad reality. People call me from the vacation they just went on to Disney World, that's about $7,000 that they just dropped, and tell me they got approved for the car that they were applying for while they were on vacation that they didn't tell me about. So they spent all their money, and they had a new inquiry, and they had a new car payment, and we had to tell them to rental.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
not buying anymore. So just listen to the council. Listen to the council. Put your life credit profile on hold for just a bit. It's a short period of time overall in your life.
Yeah. Oh, we have another question back there. Handsome man in the colorful shirt.
My name's Warren.
Hi,
and
Warren.
I wanted to know how sites like Zillow factor into when they come to you and say, hey, I found this house and it's got this price on Zillow, and I want that price.
So Zillow's been around for several years. Zillow uses an algorithm, and Zillow knows that their algorithm is wrong.
Yes.
However, they have money to fix it. Why should they? They're so popular. And my first reaction is, well, let me do a market analysis of our neighborhood with current comparables and come up with a true value. And what would your response be?
Zillow is wrong. Love you, Zillow. But the thing about Zillow is exactly what Christy is saying. It is an algorithm. And it's just a big, broad, band of all kinds of homes with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and things like that. But if you want to live in Tehachapi or a specific area, you really need to dial it in and figure out what those comps are. And that's we do that homework for you. We do not want to waste your time and having you look at things that maybe not work for you. We really want to find the right home, the right spot, the right location in your price range based on, a lender, based on insurance that you can afford. And we do that. Zillow's not going to do that for you. So although the Zestimate might be kind of wonderful, because we all like to see that our house is worth, $1.5 million, the truth of the matter, it's not. So let us do the work. Let us do the comparables. Let us find your next home or help you sell your next home.
So your Zillow is my Credit Karma.
What is your,
Oh, it's not.
All right.
No, we appreciate it.
Oh, you guys appreciate
We
it.
need
like the
Zillow,
pictures.
because we need to know what the flooring is, like raised foundation, roof type, so.
so you're actually looking at the listings that are on
Yes.
Zillow,
Yes.
not a homeowner going in to see what your value is.
No.
You could use Julian, Realtor too.
But actually,
Whatever possible.
clients do get upset with us because they say, well, you're insuring it for $300 and it's listed on Zillow for $400, and I have to explain that market value and rebuild costs are not the same thing. So,
Or they think that they bought it for $500,000 because they're on a half an acre and
right.
we're
and
only
not
gonna insure it for the
rebuilding
rebuild costs. We're not gonna bring.
When
dirt
I
in
got
and
my
rebuild the dirt.
replacement cost, I
Right.
called my insurance carrier and said, what the heck? My house wouldn't sell for this. I mean,
Are you telling us not with us?
Whoop, don't say anymore.
but I know your time is limited here this morning, correct?
Yes.
Are there any other insurance questions? Yes.
I have a question. I live in West Golden Hills and I'm thinking about relocating to Bear Valley because of the amenities. I heard that policies in there for homeowners insurance, or is that true? Or
We can write in Bear Valley. We do have a tool that would take about 30 seconds. We plug in an address, we get the green light or the red. And if you did decide, although we're getting naysayers next to you. But just give us a call and we can let you know.
Grab one of their cards on your way out.
okay, great. Thank you.
They're great because when we take listings, we will call Heather and give her the address so that we can give a potential buyer the yes or no if they even qualify for a regular homeowner's policy. It's just one extra step that we take, and we're so happy that Heather helps us out with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Do we have any other questions? For,
I have
Paula.
one
Hi,
more.
Paula.
Can I do one?
App-
For insurance?
For insurance, is it insurance related?
It's her.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
It's
Hi.
me.
Hi.
I'm
Okay,
Chris.
here's a question I'm trying to understand. If you agree to buy a home and you go into escrow and the ad about the home is misrepresented, like it says that the pool pump is working, it's new and all this, and you find out, you get a pool man to come in and you find out that the pool pump is old and not working, what is your, I don't know how to put this.
How do we take care of that?
Well, no, I know, can you back out and how much time do you have?
Okay.
And is this representation, because the pool didn't work and the pool pump wasn't new. So can you back out on that basis? And do you lose your,
Earnest money deposit?
yeah,
Sure. So there's a couple of answers to your question. So when you decide to go into escrow with a home, you have a 17-day inspection period. And during that 17 days, we can bring in roofers and home inspectors and all kinds of people to take a look at everything and try to find out what's going on with the home before it's back. And then we let you know what's going on. And then from that point, if the pump isn't working because it said it was,
yes.
then myself or Christy will go to that other agent and we'll say, hey, you know what, that pump is not working. You said it was. So we're going to do what we call a request for repairs. And we want that pump to work.
Suppose they don't want to repair it and they want you to say, well, will you take it anyway for 500 less or something like that?
Sure, and that does happen sometimes, you know, if a seller just doesn't want to deal with it, then a buyer can ask for a credit towards that repair. But if you want to get out, you can. You still have that 17 days, and you have contingencies. Love is a contingency, and appraisal is a contingency. Repairs, inspections are contingencies. So you could get out of the deal if you wanted to, and you do not lose your earnest money during that period of time.
Okay,
So that money would come back to you.
great.
Keep in mind, everything on the contract is negotiable.
Yes.
So the 17 days, a year ago, there were, 1 day. I've done offer 8 days, so you're not stuck on the 17, it's whatever you write the offer
That's
at.
correct. That's absolutely correct. Great question.
Any other insurance questions before our State Farm people go?
I just have a question about why the rates just seem like they keep increasing.
Get out your crystal
You want
ball.
more money? No.
This is-
Just kind of general rebuild cost keeps going up, the labor cost keeps going up to rebuild. Yeah, the wildfires have kind of messed that up too. You can't build the same house that you could 10 years ago for 200,000. It's gonna cost you 400,000 now, so we've got to kind of increase it as the economy goes up.
So I'm gonna tag on to your question there just a little bit. When we talk about the increase in insurance, when we talk about building a new home that has gotten more expensive. And with the new codes, adding the solar, and some more electrical, sprinklers and all that fun stuff, that factors in too now, right?
So interior sprinklers get you a slight discount on it.
Okay.
Solar, the more panels you have, the more we insure them for. And then if you have like a home alert, that helps too, like ADT,
Okay.
to keep the cost down.
Well, I was gonna say, I was gonna ask the same thing basically as Chris, is when you rebuild, we have to rebuild to current code. So if I don't have a sprinkler system now, the house decides it requires it, I'm gonna have to add it, so you're gonna have to ensure that value
Right.
of to the new code, bringing
State
it up to
Farm
code.
has a built-in portion of that, it's an additional 10.
For what, the sprinklers?
No, the building code. and
Oh, the building code
Code
upgrade is
upgrade,
10%.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's built in
Yeah.
at 10%. Because State Farm does recognize that things like that are gonna happen, or if they require gold toilets, or, triple payment, who knows? But, so that is also built in.
Okay, you brought something up, because
Oh.
I just signed a contract to buy solar. Do I have to call my insurance carrier?
So are you buying or leasing?
I'm buying.
So buying is gonna be part of coverage A, your dwelling. If you're leasing, somebody asked about personal property, it's gonna be part of the personal property.
So
But
my-
yes, you still wanna,
Yes.
you do wanna call, so we can.
Oh, snap.
I've been with the same company over 20 years. God forbid I leave them and then they cancel me for good.
Oh, no, that's really not.
I know.
Not gonna
share.
Paula,
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if I'm saying this right or if this applies, but if, let me see if I can get this straight. Let's say there's some earth thing, tragedy, a storm, a flood, an earthquake. Okay, the people go to SBA, let's say FEMA or SBA, to get a loan. The house is with you and they go there to get a loan. Why is it sometimes that people who owe nothing as far as not being in debt or anything, they get a higher loan sometimes than the people that do have a lot of debt? I've noticed that. Is that up your alley?
that's debt to income ratio, I'm sure has a factor, but that might.
I think she's talking about like, the SBA disaster loans.
Yes, yes.
And,
You're getting relief.
yeah, how much are you getting in relief? And we don't have to answer that question, because I certainly don't know the answer.
Yeah, okay, I was just curious.
Great question, sorry.
Could we have them here next time?
There's another question back there.
I don't know if this is insurance related or not, or building code, but if you build an addition to your house, do you have to sprinkler that?
I'm sure, I don't know the answer because of the building code, but I'm pretty positive that anything that has to go to the county at effective 2019. That was, but now it's definitely part of the, so I would imagine.
Any additions, ADUs, guest houses have to meet current code.
Yeah.
Okay.
So talking about adding or building a home like we talked about, I built a home and I moved into it in 2019, but it was being built in 2018. And there was a lot of codes that I didn't know that I needed to have. And the sprinklers were one of them. Having electrical for electric cars, that had to be installed in there. Certain types of fluid and plumbing all had to be, done differently. And I had to get the fire department out there to sign off on things. I had to get, different contractors out there to sign off on things. So when people think about building a home, it's not, well, we're going to put this up and it's going to be great in about 6 months. It doesn't take 6 months. It takes like almost a year. It takes a really long time. Right. The inspectors coming out take a long time, and 2020 unfortunately really impacted that because we couldn't get permits, so quickly like we used to prior to 2020. So if you're planning on building, just know that there's going to be some new things in there because of insurance, because of we're moving forward in our life that you're going to have to plan for with your dollars, and you're going to have to plan for with your time. So I learned that quite a bit back in 2018. It was a little rude awakening, but I love my house. Oh, Paula. You might think that there's nobody here but Paula.
Right.
I'm sorry.
No, there's actually an audience full,
I just have a lot of questions.
which is fantastic.
If you buy a piece of property and it has an unpermitted extra building on it, like a guest house or other house, whatever they call them, what happens when you're ready to sell?
You're selling it as an unpermitted property.
Just as they sold it to you.
Unless
How does it
you
work
go
with
through
that?
the process to permit it. But before we get down this track, you guys, is it time? They need to stay. Everybody, please thank State
Yeah.
Farm. for
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you. Take
Fun
some
trip.
cookies and water.
And any other questions, we'll email them to you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you guys. So, unpermitted property.
How do they get away? How do they get away when they sell it? How do they get away if the what am I trying to say?
Building it without it being permitted?
Well, when they sell it,
And being undisclosed.
undisclosed.
Oh, well, when it comes to disclosures, the buyer's due diligence is to go search for the permits. And if the buyer cannot find the permits, then they can address the seller with that fact and they can choose not to buy it. There are buyers that really don't do their due diligence and
Right.
really don't care. They want the property.
Right.
So that's how it transfers being unpermitted.
But in the end, it's
In
a
the end.
problem if you go to sell. Because
Not
nobody's ever
necessarily.
checked it.
You might find a buyer that doesn't care, or you might find a buyer that wants you to permit it, and then it's your choice. Do you want to permit it? Because if you have already built the structure, you've been living in it, it's years old, it's going to be almost quadruple the cost to get it permitted after the fact. So if you're building something, it's important to have it permitted as you're going through the process.
May I tag onto that one also, because that question would apply to lending in the form of the appraisal.
Right.
The appraiser is not going to give you that value of a conversions. So somebody's converted a garage, it's permitted.
Right.
The appraiser, without the permits showing that it is permitted, are going to give you the square foot value of a garage.
Right.
Have sometimes a little bit of a disparity between the seller saying, well, it's 2,500 square feet.
Mm.
City or the county, whoever, thinks it's 1,800 square feet. The appraiser is probably going to appraise it at 1,800 square feet. So if that differs between sales price and appraised value, we have another opportunity negotiation table.
Absolutely. You have another question?
So not having those things permitted, would that lower the value of the house? Or does it just depend on who's trying to buy it?
It would lower the value when an appraiser comes out if he doesn't use the square footage as living space. But the desirability might still be there for a
Right.
potential buyer
Right.
because they don't care and they
Right.
want it anyways.
You just never know. I mean, a lot of people sell houses and they want to change something in the house because they think they're going to get more value for their house. But 9 times out of 10, it may not be worth doing that. You just have to see what the buyers are going to say. And you might get, it sold just like that, or it might take a little while. But that's the feedback that we'll get as your agents and say, okay, well, you know what? The buyer loved the house, but they didn't like this or this. Maybe we should think about making some changes. Maybe we should think about doing this. So you just never know at times, but as far as like accessory dwellings or unpermitted or permitted, it depends on the buyer and let them help you out.
So
with
the
that.
person that sold it to the person that bought it and didn't know it wasn't, what's it called? Permitted. I'm only half there. Did they, now I know this is really probably a stupid thing to say, but do they think they got away with something? Is that,
No, they probably knew it wasn't permitted, and so they didn't disclose
that's
that it
what I
was
meant.
permitted.
I know they knew it, but isn't that kind of cheating? Is that
Well,
what-
it would be deceptive if
Deceptive.
they disclosed that it was permitted when in fact it was not.
Oh, so they didn't say anything?
But a buyer can do their due diligence and find out if there
Okay,
actually
so
were
it's on the
permits.
buyer.
It's up to the buyer
Okay.
to disprove or prove that it's permitted.
Oh, I got it.
We have a question from Mr. Dave back there.
Wouldn't escrow catch that?
You would think.
No,
No?
No.
escrow does not pull permits.
What does escrow look for?
Oh,
What's
liens.
escrow?
Escrows look for liens.
Escrow is a neutral third party. They work with the selling side, they work with the buying side, and they tie all of the paperwork and transactions together. They also work with the lender.
Yeah. But they'll find out if you owe back taxes or you didn't pay property taxes or you have a lien on the house or child support. They'll do all of that. And then that kind of puts a halt on things. And then, obviously the lender will be talked to about it and then we'll find out about it. So that's what escrow primarily does. They don't do anything with permits.
Not
They will
permits.
pull the chain of title to see what has transpired and what things they can cover and what things they can't cover.
Mr.
Yes.
Dave?
Yeah, one other question. I have a piece of property, I have my house on a piece of property, and then there's a vacant lot next to mine that I would like to buy. How would I find out who owns that?
Talk to one of us.
City.
Yeah, we'll do a title search for you and see who owns it. And then we can write a letter to that person.
It
And
happens all the time.
Does that?
Yeah.
Because people don't want somebody living next.
or land.
Big old house and blocking their view.
That's right.
One piece of property and we have two other pieces of property that are next to ours. We own all three of them. Would it be beneficial to combine all the lots to make it one? And like, would that increase the price of value of the house, or like, would that be beneficial?
Well, basically, if you put it on the market and you have three pieces of property, each piece of property has what they call an APN number. Go to sell it, we can do it a couple of different ways. If you get a cash buyer, then it's just, we can sell all three together. But usually they get sold separately if you're getting a loan, because you can't really get a loan on $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on a piece of land. And then the appraisal value is a lot different. So there's a couple of different ways we can do. We can bundle them all together and sell them as one, but you may not get as much value as if you were to sell them individually. Or you can have a surveyor go out there and survey the whole entire property, create one single APN number on there, and then you can sell the property just the one number. Different things we can do, but it just depends on your buyer and how that transaction's going.
But how do you go
So-
about
So
combining?
now you're paying property taxes on 3 lots.
Yes.
If you were to combine them, you would be paying taxes on one piece of property. The process to combine lots is a lot quicker than separating lots. Because if you were to combine all three, and let's say 20 years from now, somebody's bought the house from you and they go, you know what? We're gonna sell off these lots, whether it be to family, friends, or to the general public, and they go to separate them, that process is 18 months. And you have to have surveys done, the county has to be involved. So there's a lot to that. If you wanted to combine them, it's usually a lot quicker. But my recommendation would be to talk to a real estate attorney and your accountant, because it's going to affect you in multiple ways.
Did you have another question back there? Okay. I saw a little hand, but maybe you're just questioning.
That was my question.
Oh, okay. Right on. Okay.
Any questions come through?
No. So what if a buyer falls in love with the house that you are selling when you represent the seller? what happens then? Isn't that a conflict of interest?
Okay, so the state of California allows for dual agency. And what that means is there is a California Civil Code that spells out who's working for a seller and who's working for a buyer. Each have their own agent and each have their own agency agreement. In the state of California, one agent can represent both sides. There is a very fine line that has to be walked because there is a level of confidentiality that cannot be shared with either side. My office policy is that one agent cannot represent both sides. So I have a listing, I market the listing, I do open houses, I get a potential buyer, I show them the property, they want to write an offer. At that point, I introduce them to another agent in my office who then can work with them and be their 100% sole representative. Now, that doesn't take away the dual agency because dual agency really is an umbrella over the brokerage. So it's still considered dual agency, but it does create a better situation where one agent isn't working with both sides.
There's also,
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
there's also a misconception that when you see, you're driving around and you're looking for a house and you don't have an agent yet, and you see a sign that it says, you know, Sally is selling this house, that you should just call Sally.
No.
You don't have to call Sally. You can call any agent you want, okay? And we recommend that you do because some agents, but the other part of it is you actually kind of want to interview your agent.
At least 3.
Yeah, you want to talk to a couple of agents to see what's the best fit for you. And when I have potential clients who talk with me, we talk about all kinds of things under the sun, and then I'll always say, please feel free to talk to another agent if you're not comfortable with me. There's plenty of them out here. I want you to have the best fit because we want every transaction to be successful. So when you see the sign that says Sally on there, don't think that you have to call just Sally. Call whomever you want. If you saw Christy in the store or you saw my face on a menu, call me. Call Christy. We're because we're all knowledgeable real estate agents, but it really is about you hiring us to do the job for you because we work for you.
All right, I know a lot of people that call just the name on the sign.
Right.
They
Right.
represent,
Right.
that
is
agent
not
represents.
always in your best interest.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because the agent has an agency agreement of honesty, integrity, and truthfulness with their client who is the seller. So now if you work with them and sign the same agency agreement, now they've got the same fiduciary duty with you as they do with a seller. And not all agents hold themselves to a high ethical level, and things can get murky and they can get nasty.
That was
Yeah.
that was kind of my question. So if I go to Mary and I just walk in the office and I say, I'd like to look at a house. I'm not committing. I just say, I want to look at a house. Can you take me in? And then let's say I don't use Mary, but I use Susie. Is that what you were just talking about? Am I understanding that correctly?
A little bit
Is there a
different.
problem there? It doesn't.
There is no problem there because ultimately the decision is up to you as to which agent you want to work with. However, if you sign a
Right.
broker buyer agreement,
Right.
you are committing
Yeah.
and your loyalty is with that agent and broker
But
now
not just
to
to
help
get,
you find a home.
not just to look. Somebody can't say, well, I took you in, so you ought to be talking to me.
That is a whole
Yeah.
nother ballgame.
Yeah, that's a little bit different.
Because
Then it gets a little
that's been a problem over the years.
Yeah,
It has.
there's a lot to that.
Yeah,
You
there
know,
is. You're right.
So when you do go out and you meet an agent, let's say it's Mary, and Mary takes you out and sees 3-4 houses, Mary's really believing that you guys are, creating a relationship and that she's going to become your agent. But then you decide to go to Joni,
Mhm.
and then you decide to go to, Mark. Now you're agent hopping,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
But, and Mary may not find that to be really exciting anymore because she's trying to get a hold of you and now you're not talking to her because you're talking to Mark.
Right.
And you feel like Mark is the better bet for you. So we would prefer it that you just say to, you know, Mary, hey, you know what, I'm not ready yet. I'm gonna talk to some other agents. We'll back off.
Exactly.
You know, we won't spend a lot of time because really it is our business. You find something. You know, we're happy to show you houses, happy to go out there all day long, but we really have a business where we need to, you know, find houses and work with a client that's really ready and willing to buy. And wants to
Because
buy.
ultimately, we don't get paid until the transaction closes.
That's right.
That's right. We have a question behind you, Dave.
2 questions. What's the benefit of doing for sale by owner and having a real estate company represent you? And because there's so many real estate groups out there, why should I go with Platinum Realty?
Oh, man.
Okay, I'm gonna answer the first one, because this is what I love about,
Good
for sale
question.
by owner. So when you're a for sale by owner, you have very limited resources as to how you can get your property out there. Sure, you can do, post it on Zillow, you can get it in the newspaper. On the other hand, we market on 4 different MLS systems, including California Regional, which covers the entire state. We pull real estate agents from Orange County, lately quite a bit from Orange County and the South Bay, looking to find our listings on these outside systems. We cast a very wide net. So you're gonna get incredible marketing from us. You're gonna get advertising from us. And yes, Tehachapi is still a print publication town. The social media that goes out under Platinum Realty Group, plus we do professional photos with drones. I mean, we offer an amazing marketing package that is very difficult to beat.
Absolutely.
And it's fun.
And it's really fun. I think that's when we talk about looking at agents and hiring an agent. I think what you're really looking for is an agency that's going to actually work for you. And there's a lot of agents out there that say, yeah, I'm going to be there 24/7. I'm going to do that. But the key to all of that is your connection with the agency, your connection to the agent. That's first and foremost. And I think a lot of people, when they come to Platinum, what they see is when they walk into our office, they see professionalism, they see a team of people. It's not just one agent working by themselves. They actually get a team of people. And our team is amazing. They stay in contact with our clients. They make sure escrows are going well. They make sure that the inspections are happening.
Keep us on
They
our toes.
keep us on our toes. They inform us every step of the way.
Even when we don't want to be.
Oh my gosh, the emails are crazy. But, you know, but that is a team of people working for you. So as a seller, when you're having to pay a commission, this is what you want. This is what you're paying for.
That's right.
So we're providing that for you. Now, when you have a sell by owner, we don't really have a part in that. Most agents don't, because the owner doesn't want to pay a commission. That's why they're selling on their own.
They think they're gonna get a higher price, and in most cases, they do not. Plus, the other thing that you have to consider is there are state mandated disclosures that you have to give to a potential buyer. We've got your back on that because we give you everything you need to fill out and complete.
That's right. So when you're thinking about selling a house and you see it for sale by owner, 9 times out of 10, you know, that person is not going to cover what we cover, and we stay legal. This is our job. This is what we need to do. So I'm not saying don't buy that, but at least talk to us and maybe we can convince that owner that they want to work with us. And then one of our agents will do that part, and then we'll also take care of you too at the same time. But talk to us about that first.
If I may, because it may sound different coming from your voices because you're a real estate agent. And they're going to say, of course you're saying that because you're a real estate agent. You want us to use you. Outsider, different part of the transaction. A real estate agent earns their commission 2-3-fold. And as much as a seller would say, hey, I'm going to get a little bit more, I want to pocket that, they have no idea what they're in for when they do this. Story, not the horror story of the disclosures that you talked about, all the inspections that go on that you would be recommending. As a lender, somebody buying a for sale by owner, they end up asking me those questions. Should I get it? What do I do on this? Is there a form to sign? I have to back out and say, I can't legally answer that. That's not what my license covers. You should have representation. So I will endorse them no matter what. And if anybody ever tries to do a for sale by owner, I caution them strongly because of the role you all play in this. So again, outsider looking in, you've got to use an agent. You just have to. You're going to lose more money and risk than you will ever make on that one transaction, so you think.
That's great. You know, I just want to say thank you, Jeff, for that information, because Christy and I do work really, really hard, so does our office, to make sure that every transaction is successful. And when you have a for sale by owner, sometimes it just doesn't happen. And then they come to us, and then we have to kind of backtrack a little bit. So, but on that note, right?
Yes.
We should tie this up, because we're going to have another Q&A.
Yes, in
April.
May 6th.
April 6th.
May 6th.
May 6th. Oh, there you go. Oh my gosh, there's this whole thing going on behind me.
We're going to have another Q&A at the Beekay right up there, and on 10 a.m. from 10 to 11 on May 6th. And we encourage you to come sit in our audience or call in and ask us any questions. We'll have new guests, and we'll still be here. And we'll have a lot of fun, and we've got some swag here and some cookies and things like that.
Oh my gosh, yes, if you're not sitting here, there are so many fun things here. Yeah. And a special thank you to the Beekay Theatre for allowing us to use their venue.
Yes.
To all of my staff at Platinum, Lisa, Charlotte,
amazing, and
Wendy, Alex for doing our technical stuff up there. This has been so much fun. Thanks for joining me, and Jeff, thank you.
Yes.
We hope that you'll join us again.
Love
And to the gals at State Farm, thank you all for coming.
Yes, it's